Imagine this carefully. You're standing in a crowd. It's loud. Music, laughter, people shouting over each other. Someone next to you is dressed as a character you recognize. Another person is filming a video. Everything feels alive. You're not afraid. Not yet. Then something small happens. You try to take a step forward, and you can't. You laugh it off at first. Too crowded. But then you try again. Still nothing. And then you notice. Your body is no longer moving because you want it to. It's moving because the crowd moves. That moment when you lose control of your own body is where this story begins. This is the story of October 29th, 2022, the night of the 10.29 Itaewon crowd crush in Seoul, South Korea. A night that lasted hours, but for many people, ended in just a few minutes. Itaewon has always been different. It's not just a neighborhood, it's a place where cultures mix. Foreign restaurants, rooftop bars, neon lights, music from every direction. For years, it has been the place people go when they want to feel something different. And Halloween, that's its biggest night. But 2022 wasn't just another year. For 3 years, people had stayed home. Masks, restrictions, distance. And suddenly, all of that was gone. So when Halloween arrived, people didn't just come out. They flooded the streets. By nightfall, around 100,000 people filled Itaewon. Not inside a stadium, not inside a controlled venue, but in open streets, narrow streets, sloped alleys. And here's the part no one notices in the moment. A city can feel festive, even when it's already becoming dangerous. Juyang was 29. She had a clear future ahead of her. She was engaged. Her wedding was already being planned. That afternoon, she tried on wedding dresses. She stood in front of mirrors, smiling, imagining her life 1 year from now. Her fiancé stood nearby, watching her, thinking, this is it. This is our future. They hadn't seen each other for 2 weeks, so when evening came, they didn't want to go home yet. Let's walk a little more. Let's go somewhere fun. They chose Itaewon. At first, everything felt right. The energy, the costumes, the lights. But around 10 p.m., something subtle changed. The crowd stopped flowing. It started compressing. Her fiancé looked around. He noticed something most people ignore. People weren't just walking anymore. They were starting to press into each other. He said quietly, let's leave. They chose what looked like the fastest way out, a narrow alley beside the Hamilton Hotel. It was about 3 to 4 meters wide, slightly downhill, like a funnel. At the entrance, it didn't feel dangerous, just crowded. They walked in, side by side at first, then single file, then no movement at all. Behind them, more people entered, from the top, from the sides, from everywhere. Ahead of them, another crowd was coming up, trying to leave. 2 flows, opposite directions, 1 narrow space. That's all it takes. At some point, you stop making decisions. Your feet aren't stepping, they're being lifted, shifted, pushed. Your arms can't move freely, your shoulders are locked. You try to turn your head, but there's no space. This is what happens when density reaches around 5 people per square meter. But that night, it went beyond that, far beyond. At 9 people per square meter, breathing already becomes difficult. At higher levels, your chest cannot expand, even if you're standing, even if you're conscious. And this is the truth many people don't understand. Nobody needs to panic. Nobody needs to push. The crowd itself becomes pressure. Inside a locked crowd, pressure moves. Not because people choose it, but because physics demands it. A ripple forms. A wave travels through bodies. If you've ever seen the ocean, you've seen it before. Except here, the water is people. This is called a crowd avalanche. When the wave arrives, you feel it before you understand it. A sudden push, a shift, a loss of balance. Someone falls, then another, and then the collapse spreads. Ju-young and her fiancé were separated. He tried to hold her hand, but the pressure broke them apart. He saw her just ahead, close enough to reach. He called her name, again, no response. Her body was still upright, but she was no longer conscious. Around him, others too. People leaned forward, against each other, held up, not by strength, but by pressure. And slowly, the sounds changed. The music was still playing, but closer, there were no voices, because people couldn't breathe. Most victims in crowd disasters die this way, not from falling, but from being unable to inhale. Lena was in that same area. Earlier that evening, she had already felt something was wrong. In the subway, people were packed tightly, no room to hold on to anything, just swaying with movement. Outside, it got worse. After dinner, she and her friend tried to leave. They entered the alley. Within minutes, they couldn't move. Her friend squeezed her hand tightly. "I'm scared." But Lena couldn't answer, not because she didn't want to, but because she couldn't hear the noise, the pressure, the confusion. Then suddenly, a force from behind, her body tilted forward, her balance broke, and everything changed. In a crowd like this, there is one rule above all: do not fall. Because once you fall, you are no longer a person in the crowd. You become the ground, and the crowd falls onto you. That's how avalanches begin. People were trapped for nearly 40 minutes. Think about that, 40 minutes without being able to move freely, without being able to breathe normally, without knowing if help is coming. Some people tried to help others. Some tried to call emergency services, but even lifting your arm was difficult. Before this happened, there were warnings. 11 emergency calls. People said, "This is dangerous. There are too many people. Someone is going to get hurt." But the response was too little, too late. And this is important. When crowds are not guided, they become unpredictable, like traffic without signals. Everything locks. By morning, the numbers became real. The October 29th Itaewon crowd crash. 159 dead, nearly 200 injured. Young people, most in their 20s. People with plans, families, dreams. This story is not just about Itaewon, because the same conditions exist everywhere. Festivals, concerts, nightlife, public celebrations. And here's what you must remember. Early warning signs. Your movement becomes restricted. Your body touches strangers constantly. People move in multiple directions. Pressure builds around you. What can save you? Keep space in front of your chest. Move toward edges or walls. Never bend down. Stay calm, conserve energy, because once the crowd locks, control disappears. And in those moments, awareness becomes everything. October 29th, 2022, 10.29 Itaewon. A night people went out to feel alive, and a reminder that sometimes danger doesn't look like danger until it's too late.